Hello all you wonderful and amazing people, welcome back to another episode of Cleaning and Restoring. In this episode, I'll be doing the classic NES rectangle controller. And there's a couple reasons I'm doing this and a couple reasons I haven't done this in the past. And I'll just explain those now. Sorry if you don't want to hear me rambling, but that's your own prerogative. So basically, the reason I've never done these in the past is because it's fairly easy. I mean, I've done some pretty complicated controllers on video, like a PS2 or an N64 Super Pad controller. This one's really easy to do, but I understand for some people this may be complicated. So one of the reasons I haven't done it is because it's really easy, but one of the reasons I am doing it is because it's really easy, because this is a tutorial for someone who may not be as technology inclined, which I know I'm not. I don't understand how any of this stuff actually works, but I know how to take it apart and fix it and everything. So this is for someone who's having a little bit more difficulties with stuff like this, who's afraid to do a big console. Also, this doesn't take any fancy screwdrivers. If you're wondering, it just takes a standard Phillips head screwdriver. And the other reason I am documenting this is because I have 6 of these controllers that came in a lot from my friend Teeohh. I'll link to his channel in the description below, by the way. Check him out. He's pretty cool. He gave me 6 of these controllers, 1 zapper, which I made a video of, and 1 joystick controller, which I am not making a video of because it's really complicated. So complicated that I'm actually afraid to take it apart again, to be honest with you. Like I said, I never really planned on doing these. I've always had one of these controllers with me that I could have made a video of at any given point. But these controllers, whenever I took the first one apart, was so bad that I thought to myself, I have to do this. So I'm going to be doing all 6 of these. I've already done 1. I'm going to be doing all 6 of these, not on video, but I'll show you anything neat that comes up throughout one of them. Say I take one apart and there's a dead spider in it, then I'll show you. But for right now, we're just going to follow me through this controller. So the first thing you're going to do is take this controller and turn it upside down and take all 6 of your screws out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oddly enough, this one only had 4 screws still in it, and I've already taken out 3 out of those 4 screws. So I just got to take out this last one here. So bear with me here for a second. And let me tell you, these things were so horribly gross. That's another reason I'm doing it, because never once have I done a controller where I actually had to wash the screws. They were so bad. But this one was one of them. I mean, these things are absolutely in horrible condition. So that's another reason I'm doing them. So once you get all the screws taken out, you can take this piece and turn it upside down, and all your screws should fall out if you couldn't get them out before, because I could never get them out sometimes. And so there's 3 out of 4, and the 4th one's still stuck, but I'll get that later. So you're left with this square piece, and this is completely washable in itself. You don't need to worry about taking anything off. It's just one piece of plastic by itself. So set that aside, and let me push these screws off to the side real quick. And so now here's most likely what you're looking at, because I never really revised the Square NES controllers internally or externally, now that I think about it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, you may feel like you're doing damage to this thing doing this, but you're not, believe me. You can lift up by this brown piece of motherboard, or orange, whatever you want to call it, untangle the wire through these little doohickeys right here, and you can just lift all the electronic parts out just like that. This is the entire brain of an NES controller right here in my hand. So this one, and you can set the electronics aside. We're not going to do anything with these because obviously if you try to wash them, you're going to do damage to it. So this one actually, believe it or not, is not as bad as the one I did before. I mean, my sink was filled with dirt from this little tiny square controller. I love these controllers, by the way. So first thing you're going to want to do is there's 3 rubber pads. There's 1, 2, and this one in the middle is the start and reset button, or start and select button, sorry, and 3 right here. So these are pretty dirty in this distinct controller, so I'm going to go ahead and set these aside to be washed as well. And whenever I wash something, I'm not going to someday I'll go into detail about how to wash everything, but this won't be the episode right now. Mainly because the sink I use is right next to my washing machine, which is running right now, and it's very loud and you won't be able to hear me talking. So basically what I do is just take everything, fill the sink up with hot water, mix it with soap, and then just throw everything in the water. And I use a scrub brush and any cleaning utensil to get the dirt off. And for big heavy scuff marks or heavy dirt that you can't get off, use a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser if you have one. They're great. So without further ado, all you have to do is take this, turn it upside down, and your directional pad and your 2 A and B buttons come out. And your A and B button, you don't need to worry about which one's which because they're the exact same thing. So if you mix them up, you're not going to mess up the controls or anything. So you can set those aside to be washed. And here is the inside, just front faceplate of an NES controller. Now this one's kind of bad. There's a crack in the plastic right here, and there's like a ding right here. I don't even know how that happened, but it's like a dent almost. But it's in plastic, so I don't know. So a few places you want to really look for dirt, and it's almost always on these controllers, is this crack right here where the start and select buttons are, or as well as around the other buttons. On the sides of it, especially around where the wire comes out, and on the inside along all the edges, there is usually like a line of black dirt, and it's on this too. I'm not sure how well it'll show up on your video, but there's just a black line of dirt all the way around. That'll come off fairly easy, so let's just take this. So here's a completely hollowed out NES controller, if you were wondering what that would ever look like. So those two pieces are washable, along with your D-pad, A and B button, and all three of the rubber pieces. And this controller, I won't do it, but in the last one, I also washed the screws. Just be really careful you don't lose any, because it's fairly easy to do. They're very, very tiny. But if your screws are really bad, like they were on the last controller, you can go ahead and wash those. So now I'm going to go ahead and wash all the plastic things, and I'll go ahead and set them out on my towel. And as those ones are drying, I'm going to go ahead and take apart the other 4 controllers. And if anything neat comes up, I will show you. But, I mean, you pretty much saw exactly what happens in every controller. So, not much else to show you. So I'll be back maybe with the construction, maybe with something neat, but I'll see what happens. So I've gone ahead and cleaned the second controller, and the one on top is the first one, the bottom one's the second one. And you can see I'm just kind of taking the pieces and lining them up in a line like that, and I'm going to go all 6 down the towels. One thing I should note is, and I'm going to have to tell Teeohh about this, I don't know how this happened, but as soon as I put this rubber piece in the sink, one of the little cylinders on top fell off. Let's get that in focus, how about? There we go. This little rubber cylinder fell off. I didn't even wash it or anything. It just fell off in the sink. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that working. What I'm going to try to do is kind of glue it back on and hope for the best. That's all I really can do. The electronic parts in the left over here, I'm not doing anything with. I'm just setting them aside so I remember which one goes with which. If you mix them up, though, it doesn't. If you're doing multiple, like I am, it doesn't really matter if you mix them up, as long as you know it is an NES controller gut, which it should be. I don't know where you'd get guts from another controller from. But so yeah, that's basically it. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the other 4 and show you anything neat that comes up. If not, I'll show you putting it back together. So stick around, guys. Alright, this happened on 2 out of 3 of the controllers so far. Sometimes whenever you take them apart, the screws get stuck between the 2 pieces of plastic and you can't actually get them out. Taking it apart on something this old is not the safest idea if the screws aren't completely out, because you'll get something like this happen, where the bottom piece of plastic is so old and brittle that it actually breaks off, still connected to the screw. Now what's weird is that this happened with the second controller with the exact same screw, and you can see it's literally just falling apart. I can't even get the screw out. This screw is so old and frayed that I can't even get it out. So you just gotta be really careful about that. This happened with the first controller I did. The exact same screw. It broke the exact same way. Like, it made this odd shape. It's weird. I don't know if it's common with just that screw or something, or what, but I've never seen something like this happen before. So that's one thing you should note if you're taking these apart, is be careful with the screws, because the plastic connecting them can be really, really brittle sometimes. Alright, this is the same, what am I trying to say? This is the same controller I just showed you a second ago with the messed up screw. You can see it's still right here. But this is more like the first controller. The inside is absolutely horrible. The D-pad, the buttons, the rubber parts, everything is just covered in dirt. I don't know if someone dunked this in root beer or something, but that's honestly what it looks like. So this is the reason I wanted to show you guys taking apart a controller, because some of these can be so horrible on the inside, and you have no idea. Like, if you look at the front of it, it's not all that bad. I mean, there's a little bit of surface dirt here and there, but you could just get that off without taking it apart. But the inside is honestly worse. So that's why, this is the whole reason I made this video, was because the first one looked like this, and that made me think, if all of these look like this, then that's disgusting. So I figured I'd document it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this part of the video. I just wanted to show you guys what they truly looked like on the inside sometimes. Alright, sorry if there's any background noise right now. I'm kind of torn 50-50 on whether or not I should continue. I'm about halfway done. And as you can see right here, my D-pad for this one did the same thing. 2 out of 4 of the little rubber nubs fell off. Again, I'm going to try to fix it to the best ability that I can. I don't see why this is happening. Again, I didn't like rub it and it fell off. I literally set it in the sink. Look, and there's just stuff floating around. And I'm just like, why? Why are these things falling apart? I don't know if they were taken care of that badly or what. just fell off. So I'm going to continue, but God knows what will happen, so I'll show you if anything new happens. Alright, this is just a little update. I have all 6 controllers completely deconstructed, as you can see here. They're all broken down into all their pieces, and after controller number 3, where we had that issue right here with the D-pad falling up, whoops, sorry, I put my thumb there. After we had this little issue, I didn't run into really any complications, except for controller number 6, only had 5 screws. I'm sure you can't actually see that. But other than that, I mean, everything went well after those 2 rubber pieces fell apart. I'm going to try to fix them, but no guarantees to anyone, or to Teeoh for that matter. What else did I want to say? Oh yeah. So that's pretty much the end for the deconstruction and cleaning. So I'll be back with putting it together, and I'll probably do controller number 1, because that one had number 1 or number 5. I'm not sure yet, but those are the only ones that had all the screws, didn't break, and everything's fine with those. So I'll be back with the reconstruction of one of those 2. So thank you for watching, everyone. Oh, I did manage to get these 2 rubbers glued back together. You can see this one's kind of bad. It was very hard to do. It's falling apart. I kind of figured that was going to happen. I did not expect it to work. So I'm going to combine these into one controller, obviously, because that's the smartest thing to do. So that I only have 1 controller that doesn't work rather than 2 to give back to Teeoh. But yeah, I just figured I'd update you guys on what happened there. So now I'll show you putting an NES controller back together for those of you who actually need it. Alright, after a long fought battle, I am finally at the home stretch here, ready to put the last NES controller back together, and then I'll show you all 6. I took all the ones missing screws and all the ones with broken parts and put them into 1 controller, so I only have 1 controller that doesn't work, supposedly. I haven't actually tested all these, but I would assume so. I put a note on the back that says does not work, so when I give them back to Teeoh, he'll know. That's about it. So, to start off, you're going to take the faceplate of your controller, which is the piece that has the logo and stuff all over the front of it, and you're going to drop in your buttons, meaning your D-pad and your A and B buttons. Now, the A and B buttons, I know I said this before, but I'll say it again, it does not matter which one goes in which hole, and it does not matter if they go this way or this way. As long as they fit down, they're in the right spot. So then you're going to take your rubber pieces, your AB rubber, your D-pad rubber, and your start and select rubber. Put those all back into place, making sure that the holes line up with the little towers made to hold them in place. And so for this step, I'm going to turn it this way, but it doesn't really matter. You're going to take the, the motherboard, and put that back into place. Now this lines up. To make it easier for you, it goes in like this. So this curved part right here by my index finger, that goes on the curve right there of the D-pad. So basically it goes in like this. That's how I always remembered it, at least. And so you're going to feed your wire back through, and through all these little towers that it was originally held into place with. Every controller has these, by the way. If your first controller is an NES controller, every controller has these little plastic towers holding the wire in spot. And also, there's 2 little towers right here that the wire is supposed to be wedged between. And that's like the main source of resistance when you're putting the 2 halves back together, because people forget to put it through there, and it gets stuck, and you can't get the other half of the controller back on. But once you are ready to get the other half of the controller back on, make sure your wire is centered in a little hole, and you may have to hold it in place like I am with my pinky, and then just drop the other half back on, and it should fit really easily considering it's just a square. And so before I cut the camera, let me put 1 screw in just so it doesn't come apart while I'm trying to turn the camera off. But so basically all you have to do from here is I go ahead and put all 6 of your screws back into place. Like I said, I'm just putting in 1 so this whole thing doesn't come apart on me. So if you only have 5 screws, my suggestion would be to do all 4 corners and back here by the wire. Because obviously the 4 corners would be the strongest places. Those are the only screws you basically need. But if you do back here by the wire, that makes sure that this wire won't get tugged through like a gap in the plastic or anything and start to fray. The front, I mean, it's a good idea to do that too, but if you're missing a screw, I would suggest skipping this front screw. So go ahead and put all 5 or 6 or whatever you have screws back in. Okay, here's all 6 controllers back and ready in action. This one is the one that I left the note on, says does not work. This is the one, it only has like 4 screws in it, I think, because the ones that were missing screws I took out of this one because obviously it's not going to work. My attempt at gluing the rubbers back together did not work. The A button does not push down at all, and the up and the right button on the D-pad don't work either. which was expected. I mean, I did not think that gluing them was going to work. That was just kind of my last resort because they fell apart. Luckily, I was able to combine them all into one controller, so only one does not work out of these 6 controllers. So if you like this video, please leave a like or subscribe for more like it, and I appreciate everyone watching, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.